The morning sky above New York turned purple when they arrived. It wasn't a gentle arrival with peaceful intentions. It was a show of force that made Earth's most powerful weapons look like children's toys. Admiral James Walker stood at the United Nations main window, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. 27 massive ships hung in the sky, each one bigger than the largest aircraft carrier ever built. Their dark metal hulls blocked out the sun, casting long shadows over the frightened city below. "They're hailing us again, sir," his aide said, holding out a tablet. "All frequencies, all languages. They've somehow learned them all." Walker turned away from the window. The emergency session of the UN Security Council was about to begin, and he knew humanity's future hung by a thread. The room was packed with world leaders, their faces pale with worry. "What we are about to see," Walker said as he took his place at the podium, "is the transmission they've been broadcasting for the last hour." He nodded to the technician, and the large screen came to life. The alien that appeared looked almost human, but wrong in subtle ways. Its skin was too perfect, its eyes too large, its smile too practiced. It wore what appeared to be a military uniform in deep purple with gold trim. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English. "I am High Commander Tyrus of the Stellar Empire. You have the honor of being chosen to join our glorious domain. We require a simple tribute, 10% of your annual resources and 1 million of your people for labor. You have 30 days to prepare your first offering." The recording ended, leaving the room in silence. Then chaos erupted. "We can't possibly agree to this. 1 million people, they're asking for slaves. But look at their ships. We don't have a choice." Walker raised his hand, and surprisingly, the room fell quiet. In his 30 years of military service, he had never faced a situation like this, but he knew what had to be said. "Distinguished leaders," he began, his voice steady. "I've spent the last 3 hours reviewing our military capabilities against what we can observe of their technology. Yes, they are advanced. Yes, they are powerful. But they made 3 critical mistakes." He held up one finger. "First, they gave us time to prepare. If they were as all-powerful as they want us to believe, they would have simply taken what they wanted." A second finger joined the first. "Second, they're asking for tribute. This tells us they need resources, which means they're not as self-sufficient as they appear." The third finger rose. "And finally, they're demanding human laborers. This suggests they have limits. They need workers, which means they don't have machines to do everything." Walker leaned forward on the podium. "I believe we can fight. More importantly, I believe we must fight. Because if we give them 1 million people now, they'll demand 2 million next year, and 5 million the year after that. This isn't an opportunity to join their empire. It's the beginning of our enslavement." The Chinese president stood up. "What do you suggest, Admiral?" "Their smallest ship could probably destroy one of our cities in minutes." Walker nodded. "Yes, sir. But remember our history. Every empire that thought itself invincible eventually fell, usually because they underestimated those they thought were beneath them." He pressed a button, and a new image appeared on the screen. A detailed scan of one of the alien ships. "We've been monitoring their ships since they arrived. Their technology is advanced, but it follows rules we can understand. It's not magic. And in the 3 hours they've been here, we've already found interesting patterns in their shield frequencies." He looked around the room, meeting each leader's eyes. "I'm not saying victory would be easy, or that it wouldn't come at a terrible cost. But I am saying that submission would cost us everything. Not just our resources or our people, but our very humanity." The room was quiet again, but this time it was different. Walker could see it in their faces. Fear was being replaced by determination. Humanity had faced extinction-level threats before: plagues, world wars, climate disasters. Each time, they had survived by working together. The UN Secretary General stood up. "I believe we need to vote. The question before us is simple. Do we submit to the Empire's demands, or do we fight? Walker returned to his window as the votes were cast. The purple sky seemed less threatening now. Humanity had made its first step toward either its greatest victory or its last stand. 3 days had passed since the Empire's ships first darkened Earth's skies. In the UN Security Council chamber, the debate was reaching its final hours. Admiral Walker watched as representatives from different nations argued back and forth, their voices growing louder with each passing minute. "We must think of our children." The British representative stood up, his face red with emotion. "If we fight, how many millions will die? And if we submit, what kind of world will those children inherit?" The Indian representative countered, "A world of slavery." The room fell silent as the main screen flickered to life. High Commander Tyrus's face appeared, his artificial smile more threatening than ever. "Distinguished leaders of Earth," he said, "I sense hesitation in your response to our generous offer. Perhaps a demonstration of our power would help you make the right choice." The screen split to show a live feed from the moon, where humanity's largest mining colony housed 300 workers. Admiral Walker's stomach turned to ice as he realized what was about to happen. A bright purple beam shot from the smallest Empire ship. On the screen, the lunar colony flashed once, then vanished. Nothing remained, not even rubble. 300 lives gone in an instant. Screams and shouts filled the chamber. Some representatives wept openly. Others stared in shocked silence. "You have 27 days remaining," Tyrus said calmly. "I trust this helps clarify your position." The screen went dark. Walker stood up slowly. The room quieted, all eyes turning to him. His voice was steady despite the anger burning in his chest. "They just showed us something important," he said. "Not their power. We already knew about that. They showed us their fear." "Fear," the Russian representative scoffed. "They just destroy our lunar colony without effort." Walker nodded. "Exactly. Think about it. Why would such a powerful empire need to prove themselves? Why demonstrate their strength if they were truly confident?" He walked to the center of the room. "They're afraid because they know something we're just beginning to understand. Size doesn't always determine the outcome of a fight." The Japanese representative stood up. "Admiral Walker is right. In our history, small nations have defeated larger ones. Guerrilla fighters have outlasted armies. And now," she paused, looking at the blank screen, "now they fear that Earth might become more trouble than we're worth." Walker pulled up new data on the main screen. "In the past 3 days, our scientists have been studying their ships. Each time they fire their weapons, we learn more. Each transmission they send teaches us about their technology. They're not gods. They're just bullies who've gotten away with this for too long." The UN Secretary General called for order. "The time for debate is over. We will now vote on humanity's response to the Empire's demand." He looked around the room. "The choices are simple: submit and provide tribute, or reject their demands and face the consequences." The voting was done in silence. Each representative pressed a button at their station, their choice recorded instantly. Walker held his breath as the results appeared on the screen. For the first time in UN history, the vote was unanimous. The Secretary General stood. "By unanimous decision, Earth rejects the Empire's demands. We choose to fight." He turned to Walker. "Admiral, you have 27 days to prepare Earth's defenses." Walker nodded grimly. "We'll need every minute, and we'll need every nation working together like never before." As the meeting ended, Walker received an urgent message. He smiled as he read it. The first real smile since this crisis began. "Sir," his aide asked. "Good news. Colonel Miller's team just made a breakthrough," Walker replied. "Turns out our visitors aren't as invincible as they want us to think. Their shield technology has a weakness, and we're going to exploit it." He looked out at the purple sky, where the Empire's ships still loomed. They thought they were watching over a soon-to-be-conquered world. Instead, they were about to learn a harsh lesson. When you back humanity into a corner, You better be prepared for one hell of a fight. 27 days to prepare for war. It wasn't much time, but it would have to be enough. The Empire had made a fatal mistake. They had united all of humanity against a common enemy. And united, humanity was about to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate the human spirit. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Colonel Anna Miller stood in front of a massive screen displaying the Empire's shield frequencies. 20 days remained until the deadline, and she hadn't slept properly in a week. "Show me the pattern again," she ordered, rubbing her tired eyes. The computer displayed a series of waves, each representing the enemy's shield strength. "Look here," said Dr. Robert Thompson, pointing to a recurring dip in the pattern. "Every 47 seconds, their shields shift frequency. There's a split-second gap." Miller leaned forward. "And you're sure about the old UFO data?" Thompson nodded excitedly. "Yes. The crashed ships we recovered over the past 50 years. They're all Empire technology. Different models, but same basic design. They never thought we'd figure it out because they assumed we were too primitive to study their tech. Around them, the underground facility buzzed with activity. Scientists from every major nation worked side by side. Chinese quantum physicists collaborated with American engineers. Russian weapons experts shared data with Japanese computer specialists. The old borders had disappeared in the face of extinction. "Admiral Walker is on screen 3, a technician called out. Walker's face appeared, looking as tired as Miller felt. "Colonel, please tell me you have something. The Empire's ships just destroyed another satellite. They're getting impatient." Miller allowed herself a small smile. "Sir, we've cracked it. Their shields are strong, but they have to cycle frequencies to maintain power. There's a pattern and a weakness." She pressed a button, showing Walker the new weapon designs. "We're calling it the Frequency Cascade Cannon. It fires energy pulses that match their shield cycles perfectly. When their shields shift, we hit them at exactly the right moment." "How effective is it?" Thompson stepped forward. "In simulations, sir, it cuts through their shields like they're not even there. And we've built it using parts from their own crashed ships. They won't expect that." Walker nodded slowly. "How many can we build in 18 days? Miller consulted her tablet. "Every major manufacturing plant on Earth is now running 24/7. We can arm our 20 largest ships and create ground-based defense stations around major cities. The carriers are almost ready too," Walker added. "We've retrofitted every aircraft carrier with space engines based on the recovered tech. Not as good as their ships, but enough to fight in orbit." Miller's screen beeped with an urgent message. "Sir, we just got confirmation. The stealth satellites are in position. The Empire hasn't detected them. When the fight starts, they'll have no idea we can hit them from behind." Walker's expression turned serious. "What about civilian protection?" "Underground shelters are at 80% completion," Miller replied. "We're using old mine shafts, subway tunnels, anything we can fortify. The new shield generators will protect most major cities, at least for a while." "It won't save everyone," Thompson said quietly. "No," Miller agreed, "but it'll save enough to keep fighting. And that's what matters." Walker looked off screen for a moment. "They're sending another message, probably another threat." He smiled grimly. "Keep them thinking we're scared, Colonel. Let them believe we're just cowering down here." "Yes, sir. And sir." Miller straightened up. "The Empire thinks they're hunting sheep. They don't realize they're about to fight wolves." After Walker's image faded, Miller walked through the facility. Everywhere, humans worked with desperate determination, testing weapons, programming defense systems, preparing medical supplies. No one complained about the long hours or impossible deadlines. In the main construction bay, the first frequency cascade cannon stood ready. It looked almost beautiful, a combination of human and alien technology. Miller placed her hand on its cool surface. 16 days, she whispered to herself. 16 days to get ready for the biggest fight in human history. Behind her, Thompson appeared with fresh data. Latest tests are done. Want to see how much damage this thing can really do? Miller nodded, turning away from the cannon. The Empire had given humanity 30 days, thinking it was an act of mercy. Instead, they had given Earth exactly what it needed: time to prepare. And humanity had used every second of it. Now they just had to hope it would be enough. The deadline arrived with a blood-red sunrise over Mars. Earth's first space fleet, 20 converted aircraft carriers and their fighter escorts, waited in the shadow of the red planet. Admiral Walker stood on the bridge of the EDS Phoenix, watching the Empire's ships approach. "They're right on schedule," his tactical officer reported. 3 dreadnoughts moving into position. "Their weapons are hot." Walker took a deep breath. Everything depended on these first few minutes. On the main screen, High Commander Tyrus's face appeared, wearing the same artificial smile. "Your time has expired," Tyrus announced. "Where is our tribute?" Walker stepped forward. He had rehearsed this moment dozens of times. "This is Admiral James Walker of the Earth Defense Fleet. We have prepared our response." Tyrus's smile widened. "Excellent. Begin transport of the first 1,000,000 workers." "Our response," Walker interrupted, "is this." He pressed a button on his command console. Hidden in Mars orbit, Colonel Miller's stealth satellites activated. The frequency cascade cannons fired their first shots in perfect synchronization. Purple-blue energy beams sliced through space, hitting the Empire ships at exactly the right moment when their shields cycled. The result was spectacular. The first Imperial dreadnought's shields flickered and died. The second shot cut through its hull like paper. The massive ship split in half, secondary explosions tearing it apart from within. "Impossible." Tyrus's smile vanished. "How dare you?" "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta," Walker commanded. Earth's fleet emerged from Mars's shadow, weapons blazing. The converted carriers might look primitive compared to Empire ships, but they carried humanity's new secret weapon. The second dreadnought turned to fight, but Miller's calculations were perfect. Its shields failed just as the human fleet opened fire. The proud Empire ship, designed to dominate worlds, couldn't survive the concentrated assault. "Sir," the tactical officer called out, "the third dreadnought is charging its main weapon." "Just as we predicted," Walker said calmly. "Execute Phase 2. Small fighter craft poured from the carriers, each equipped with miniature versions of the Cascade cannon. They swarmed the remaining dreadnought like angry bees, striking at precise intervals. The Empire ship's massive weapon powered down as its energy systems failed. On the screen, Tyrus's face showed something the Empire hadn't felt in centuries: fear. "This is impossible," he sputtered. "You're primitives. You can't have this technology. You can't." "We learn from your mistakes," Walker cut in. "Those ships you lost over the years, the ones that crashed on Earth. We studied them, all of them. You thought we were too primitive to understand your technology. That was your first mistake." The third dreadnought's engines flared as it tried to retreat, but humanity's weapons had already crippled its power systems. The mighty ship drifted helplessly in space. "Your second mistake," Walker continued, "was giving us time to prepare. And your third mistake." He allowed himself a small smile, thinking that humanity would ever kneel to tyrants. "The Empire will not forget this." Tyrus raged. "We will return with our full fleet. We will burn your world to ash." "No," Walker said quietly. "You'll run back to your Empire, and you'll tell them exactly what happened here. Tell them how your 3 invincible dreadnoughts were destroyed by primitives. Tell them that Earth isn't a target. It's a grave for any who try to enslave us." The transmission cut off as the third dreadnought managed to limp away into deep space. Around the fleet, debris from 2 destroyed Empire ships drifted silently. "Casualties?" Walker asked. "Minimal, sir. We lost 12 fighters. All pilots ejected safely. Our carriers are undamaged." Walker nodded slowly. Send word to Earth. First engagement successful. But warn them, this was just the beginning. He looked at the tactical display, where the retreating dreadnought was disappearing into the darkness of space. They had won their first battle, but he knew what was coming. The Empire wouldn't take this humiliation lightly. They had shown humanity what they could do. Now the real war would begin. All ships, he commanded, return to Earth. We have work to do. Captain Thomas Reed watched from Earth's orbital defense station as space itself seemed to tear open. The Empire's main fleet had arrived. Not just ships, but an armada that blotted out the stars. His hands tightened on the command rail. Count, he asked quietly. Over 200 ships, sir, his sensor officer replied, including 5 super dreadnoughts. Each one is 3 times the size of the ships we faced at Mars. The Empire hadn't waited long to respond. Just 2 weeks after their defeat at Mars, they had returned with enough firepower to destroy a dozen worlds. All stations report ready, his communications officer announced. Major Howard's asteroid belt positions are silent but operational. Reed nodded. They had prepared for this. Every rock in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter now hid weapons platforms and strike ships. It was humanity's secret defense line, their ace in the hole. The main screen lit up. Instead of Tyrus, a new face appeared, older, harder, with cold eyes that held centuries of conquest. I am Fleet Master Darius, the alien announced. Your resistance ends today. Surrender now, and we will only take half your population as punishment. Reed exchanged glances with his crew. They all knew the plan. This is Captain Reed of Earth Defense. We request 1 hour to discuss your terms. You have 10 minutes, Darius growled. The screen went dark. Reed immediately opened a secure channel. Admiral Walker, they're in position. Confirmed, Walker's voice came through. Colonel Miller's upgrades are ready. Begin Operation Hornet's Nest. Reed turned to his crew. Send the signal. All stations execute Pattern Omega. Across Earth's orbit, defensive platforms that had appeared weak and primitive suddenly transformed. Holographic projectors failed, revealing advanced weapons systems built from reverse-engineered Empire technology. But the real surprise waited in the asteroid belt. Enemy fleet is launching fighters, the sensor officer reported. They're moving to surround Earth. Reed watched the tactical display. The Empire ships spread out in a standard conquest formation, one they had probably used to subjugate countless worlds. But they had never faced a trap like this. Major Howard, you're clear to proceed, Reed transmitted. In the asteroid belt, hundreds of rocks suddenly moved. Thrusters hidden within the asteroids fired, sending them on carefully calculated paths. The Empire fleet, focused on Earth, didn't notice until it was too late. They're detecting the asteroids, the tactical officer reported with a grim smile. They're trying to evade. But there was nowhere to evade to. The asteroids had been positioned perfectly, turning the entire belt into a kill zone. As the rocks moved, they revealed Major Howard's hidden strike fleet. Now, Reed commanded. Everything happened at once. The automated defense platforms opened fire with frequency cascade cannons. Major Howard's ships launched from their hiding spots, weapons blazing, and the asteroids themselves exploded, releasing clouds of specialized debris designed to disable Empire shields. The mighty Empire fleet found itself caught in a 3-dimensional crossfire. Ships trying to retreat from the asteroid belt faced Earth's defenses. Those pushing forward met Howard's strike fleet, and all around them, the upgraded cascade cannons found their marks. Sir, the sensor officer shouted, 2 super dreadnoughts down. Their formation is breaking. On the main screen, Darius appeared again, his face contorted with rage. What trickery is this? You cannot. We can, Reed interrupted. And we are. You thought we would just defend Earth. No, we turned our entire solar system into a weapon. The battle raged for hours. Empire ships fought back furiously, destroying many of Earth's platforms and vessels. But they had lost their greatest advantage, the element of surprise. Every move they made had been predicted, prepared for, and countered. As the fighting continued, Reed received a priority message from Admiral Walker. Phase 2 begins in 30 minutes. Hold the line. Reed straightened in his chair. They had bloodied the Empire's nose, but the real battle was just beginning. Walker's main fleet was about to arrive from the dark side of Jupiter, where they had been hiding since Mars. The Empire was about to learn another lesson. Never corner someone in their own home. The Empire's central command room was in chaos. On dozens of screens, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Admiral Walker watched the scene through a secure transmission, intercepted by Earth's new deep space network. Another uprising on Proxima II, an Empire commander reported, his voice shaking. They're using the same weapons as the humans. Our shields are useless. Fleet Master Darius, his uniform now torn and dirty from the battle for Earth, slammed his fist on the command table. Impossible. How are they spreading this technology so quickly? Walker smiled as he ended the transmission. In the 3 months since the Empire's failed attack on Earth, humanity had been busy. Very busy. Colonel Miller, he called out. Status report on the Resistance Network. Miller's hologram appeared in the command center. Her team had perfected this technology just weeks ago, reverse-engineered from Empire Communications. Better than we hoped, sir. 57 worlds have successfully revolted. Another 100 are in open rebellion. The Empire's forces are stretched too thin to respond everywhere at once. And the weapons packages. Our stealth ships have delivered Cascade cannon plans to resistance groups on over 200 worlds. The Empire never guarded against our smaller ships. They were looking for large fleet movements. Walker nodded. After defeating the Empire's main fleet in the Sol system, Earth had made a decisive choice. Instead of just defending their world, they would help free every enslaved species in the galaxy. Sir, a communications officer called out. Incoming transmission from the Centauri Resistance. They've captured their sector's Imperial Command Center. More reports followed. The Empire, which had ruled through fear for thousands of years, was facing something they had never planned for. A coordinated galaxy-wide rebellion, armed with weapons that could pierce their supposedly invincible shields. Their own arrogance made this possible, Miller observed. They never bothered to change their shield technology because they thought no primitive species could understand it. Walker moved to the strategic display, where red dots showing Empire control were rapidly turning green as world after world broke free. And they never imagined their slaves would work together. Each species was kept isolated, told they were alone in their resistance. A priority alert flashed on the main screen. The Empire's own military was beginning to fracture. 3 fleet commanders had already surrendered to the rebellion, their crews tired of fighting for a losing cause. Message from the Alliance Council. Sir, an aide reported. Earth had helped form this council, uniting representatives from every freed world. They're ready to proceed with the final phase. Walker took a deep breath. This was the moment they had planned for. Send the transmission. All channels, all frequencies. Make sure every world in the Empire sees it. The message was simple but powerful. Footage from Earth's victories, proof that the Empire could be beaten, and detailed plans for building the Cascade cannons. But most importantly, it showed something the Empire had hidden for centuries, that unity was possible, that different species could work together as equals. Sir, Miller's hologram spoke up. The Emperor's personal fleet is mobilizing. Intelligence suggests they're planning to make an example of one of the rebel worlds. They still don't understand, Walker said quietly. They think they can stop this with more fear, more violence. But they're about to learn the hardest lesson of all. He turned to his command staff. Send word to all Allied fleets. The Emperor is coming out of hiding. Everything we've done has led to this moment. The room burst into activity as orders went out across the galaxy. Earth's ships, now joined by vessels from dozens of freed worlds, began moving into position. The final battle was about to begin. 3 months ago, they demanded tribute from Earth, Walker said to his staff. Instead, we gave the galaxy something much more valuable: hope. He looked at the strategic display one last time. The Empire's territory had shrunk to less than a quarter of its original size, and tomorrow they would strike at its heart. The Empire had ruled through fear. Now it would fall to unity. The Imperial Palace filled an entire moon orbiting the Empire's capital world. For thousands of years, no enemy had ever come within 100 light-years of this place. Now, Admiral Walker stood on the bridge of the EDS Phoenix, looking at it through his view screen. Allied Fleet's report ready, Colonel Miller announced. Her ship floated nearby, leading a squadron of vessels from 7 different freed worlds. The Emperor's forces are deployed in a defensive sphere around the palace. How many ships? Walker asked. 500 Imperial vessels. Their last remaining super dreadnoughts are there too. Miller paused. But we have 800 ships from 30 different species, all equipped with our latest weapons. Walker nodded. The final battle was about to begin. Earth had come far from those first terrifying days when the Empire demanded tribute. Now they led an alliance of free worlds. The main screen lit up. The Emperor himself appeared, the first time any of the lesser species had seen him. He looked ancient, his skin almost translucent, eyes burning with rage. So, the Emperor's voice boomed. The primitives have come to die at my doorstep. No, Walker replied calmly. We've come to end your reign. But first, there's something you need to see. He signaled Miller. Across every channel, on every frequency, their message began playing. Not just to the Emperor's forces, but to every world in what remained of the Empire. The message showed everything. Earth's first victory at Mars, the successful defense of the Sol system, and most importantly, footage of freed worlds working together, building better lives without Imperial control. Your empire wasn't built on strength, Walker declared. It was built on lies. You told each species they were alone. You made them think resistance was impossible. That lie ends today. The Emperor's face twisted with fury. Kill them all. He commanded his fleet. But something unexpected happened. A third of the Imperial ships didn't move. My Emperor, one of his own admirals, spoke up. We've seen enough death. No more. Walker gave the signal. All ships, execute final attack pattern. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries. The Allied fleet moved like one organism, using tactics developed by 30 different species working together. Ships from Earth fought alongside vessels from worlds that had been enemies just months ago. The Emperor's loyal ships fought back savagely, but they were fighting an idea as much as an enemy. The idea that freedom was possible. That unity was stronger than fear. Colonel Miller's squadron led the breakthrough. Using a combination of human ingenuity and alien technology, they punched through the Imperial defenses. The palace's shields, once thought impenetrable, fell to concentrated fire from the Allied fleet. The Emperor is trying to escape, Miller reported. Small ship launching from the lower levels. Not this time, Walker said quietly. He pressed a button on his command chair. Hidden among the Allied fleet were Earth's newest ships, small, fast vessels designed for one purpose. They intercepted the Emperor's escape craft with surgical precision. Imperial forces are standing down, Miller announced. They're surrendering, sir. Walker looked at his tactical display. The mighty Empire, which had ruled the galaxy through fear for thousands of years, had finally fallen. Not to a single powerful enemy, but to the combined strength of those they had tried to enslave. 1 month later, Walker stood in the former Imperial Palace. Representatives from over 300 worlds had gathered to sign the Galactic Alliance Charter. Earth, as the spark that started the revolution, had been chosen to host the first council. Ready for your speech, sir? Miller asked, Now wearing the uniform of the New Alliance fleet, Walker looked out at the assembled beings, humans standing alongside species from